Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proof.
This is Dan.
This
Stone.
is Dexter from The Offspring.
Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is David Lapp.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick
I'm
Gillette.
Christopher
This is
Knopf.
Dr. Bob Greenberg.
I'm Laird Hamilton.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, I'm Mark Valley.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
What's good? My name is Dave Leibowitz. I am an executive editor at Everipiedia and founder of Bitcoin for Plebs.
Hello, this is Angel, and I'm also an executive editor of Everipiedia.
Hi, this is Rami Ezo, simply known as Ezo on Everipiedia. I am an executive editor as well.
Yo, this Mabu, Chief Community Officer at Everpedia. I started Rap Genius. You listening to the Break It Down show. Was good.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero, Mark Valley, and Pete A. Turner.
Awesome. So I'm at Everpedia headquarters hanging out with Angel, Mabu, all the fellas, David, and we're having a good time. We talked to you guys. We had you on in the past. I'm going to look and see. I believe you guys were episode 44, but I'm going to double check and see. Everpedia 124.
Wow.
Yeah, and so anybody who wants to understand some background on this show, on these guys, should go to episode 124. I'll put a link in the show notes so you guys can go and take a look. But it's been a while. You guys have had some big changes, some big news, some things we can't talk about, but a lot of things that we can. It's exciting. I love what you guys are doing. You're changing. For those that don't know, you guys took the outdated Wikipedia model and built something that's significantly better. And that's the old news. I mean, it's so much different now. So I can't wait to break it down with you guys and talk. I know we all we exchange quite a bit on Facebook, so it's really cool. These guys are super approachable, and I appreciate you having me in. And we are here at like 11:30 at night too. So you guys are some hardworking motherfuckers, and I can appreciate that. Let's just start with kind of a basic thing. Where the heck are we at? What are we doing?
Well, right now we're in the process of moving Everipiedia from just a normal, regular website to actually moving on the blockchain.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take our Everipiedia platform and we're going to completely decentralize it. This has never been done before at this scale. We're going to build it on top of the EOS blockchain, and it's really exciting what we have in store.
That makes no fucking sense to me at all. So I know we're going to get there, but everybody just I don't know what that means.
We're gonna have a way to reward editors for their edits.
I'm going to go on and edit my Pete page, which we should all check out on Everpedia. And you're saying that as I do this work, I'll be compensated with some kind of blockchain incentive.
Exactly. You'll be compensated with the IQ token. And we have this whole incentivized structure in place. It was written by the founder Sam, Kadar, a few other people, and they really wrote the architecture for the perfect reward system. And it's like very straight, it's to the point, it's really cool.
It's a utility token?
Yeah.
So tell me what that means.
Utility token it's like a tool to use the platform, to use the network. So in order to use Everpedia, you need the token in order to do so. Let's say if you want to make a page,
right,
you would have to put up the token in order as kind of a placement to make an edit. And if it gets approved,
so you can make an edit.
Yeah, and when it gets approved, you get your initial back, and when it gets more approval, you actually get compensated for the token.
So let me see if I got this straight, and I'm going to try to make an analogy. I can never keep track of analogies and all the different ways of saying. I'm going to make something that's a parallel of sorts. Yeah. So I've got a key card to swipe to get into my office building, and this is akin to what you guys are talking about. I can't get in to do things unless I've got this blockchain access utility token.
So the utility token is what the IQ is going to be, which is what Dave just explained, and then the other one is a security token. There's two different.
So there's a security token and a utility token. Okay, and the security token is how we protect the data that's there. Is that right?
No. A security token has different properties than a utility token, but we're a utility token because the IQ token actually has use and functionality to use the website. When I was hearing your key analogy, it definitely makes sense. It's a key in order to access and use different tools on the site. And it's not only just a way to use tools on the site, it's the token actually has a governance mechanism with it. So you can actually have a say and the direction of the website. For example, like let's say the editors come together and they want to make a rule, like let's say like a new standard on the site. They can come together, and if they get enough token holders to vote for that certain rule, it will pass. And if it doesn't pass, then it doesn't pass.
And then if I understand, and I'm a crypto baby, if it doesn't pass necessarily, it could crack, or there could be two different versions of that reality where like some of the editors are like, yes, we have to have this higher standards. And then maybe half of them say, well, no, we're not. It kind of
depends on how detrimental like the rule is and how.
But what if it's an agreed to disagree situation? Like, you guys need to go build that. We're going to do this.
The governance mechanism like isn't really meant. How can I explain it? It's not really meant for that.
Well, I'm just not even sure how much of this we've already established. Like, I've definitely heard the guys debating whether there should be alternate wiki pages for certain topics.
Yeah.
For my 2 cents, I wouldn't want to see that. I think people would just think that's weird.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And we're trying to think of something that may or may not happen even 10 years down the line, because some of the things in the crypto world is sometimes there are disagreements and there are fractures and what's the term? I forget what the term is, but forks. Right. So
yeah,
there could be potentially a fork with this, but you're saying really not designed.
I don't see like the governance rules doing that unless it's like super severe, but I think that's an extremely rare case. But I will say this, the Everipiedia blockchain is completely separate from like the Everipiedia company. So you can so anybody in theory can make a block explorer, which is basically a website to view the blockchain.
Okay.
So for example, let's say you're somebody that's just like really interested in football players.
Right.
And you just want a website dedicated to wikis of football players of all different levels, high school, college, professional. You can make a block explorer just for football players, and it will only show wiki pages from the Everipedia IQ network of those players.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Almost, yes.
Yeah. So it's just a block explorer. So basically a block explorer equals a website, and it's exclusively for football players.
So explain to me as like an end user, I want to go look up Tony Dorsett and go get lost in football wikis for the day on Everipedia. How is my experience different?
Different to
like if I sit down in front of my computer and I type in Everripedia Tony Dorsett and I go and I read his bio, and then I get lost going left and right reading about Cowboys players. Then next thing you know, I'm in the Bills, and then I'm at De La Salle High School.
You're going down the rabbit hole. You're going down the Everripedia rabbit hole. There.
How is my experience different with this blockchain approach?
It's really no different for the reader, honestly. That's the beauty of it.
Well, I think the difference is that you can get sucked in from a lot more entry points.
Okay.
For example, right now, someone can go on Rap Genius's Wikipedia page and get sucked into the rabbit hole. Click on Ben Horowitz and click on Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. But they can't go on my Wikipedia because I wasn't allowed to have one because I'm not important enough to have a Wikipedia.
Hey, neither am I.
Well, you and I both have Everipedias.
Yes.
Which get actually decent traffic. And then someone is on your Everipedia and they click that you live in San Francisco.
Right.
And then they go on that and then they got sucked into the Wikipedia rabbit hole.
Right.
It's the same rabbit hole, but they got sucked in via the entry point of Pete Turner.
Okay.
So, and then we're going to open up potentially billions more of these entry points. Like there's 5 million pages on Wikipedia, and we're trying to have over 1 billion pages.
Every single pronoun.
Yep.
Mabu just mentioned that he doesn't have a wiki, but Everipedia has a Wikipedia now. And on it, it's actually written that we finally surpassed them in terms of English wikis or English encyclopedic entries, you know.
Are you saying, because I'm really trying to grab hold of this, are there going to be multiple Everipedia front faces, I guess? Like I could have my own, this is my version of Everipedia with this setup? Or am I totally wrong with saying that?
Yeah, well, the blockchain is independent from the company. So in theory, like anybody can like make like I said before, a block explorer website, and like have their own explorer of the Everipedia network.
Right. Okay, so let me see if I can put this into an example. If I had the time to Ewok all the time, by the way, if you don't know what Ewok is, go back to the episode and listen. Let's say I had time to, let's say I hire a guy to Ewok for me, and he's going to take all of the podcasts, 200 plus break it down shows, and I want to have a break it down show Everipedia universe. I'm trying to make up words that I don't really know what they say, but am I kind of getting it right where you could use the Everipedia platform as a means of creating more content locations?
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
that right?
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things to actually kind of reiterate your point a little bit more, we actually have an example of something that you're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. What Dave and I have been actually working on is a page that lists all of Joe Rogan's guests for his podcast. Okay. And there's well over 1,000 or 1,100 people on his podcast. Yeah. So what if there was like one specific page that kind of centralizes all the information about each guest that appears on his show and maybe highlights some of the things that they talk about?
Right.
And then also, if they're interested in finding out more about that person specifically, not all of them have Wikipedia pages, by the way.
Right.
You can easily click on those and get more information about them and what they do.
Wow.
Yeah, I think one of the most popular and engaging lists we have is the No Jumper interview list.
Okay.
And I say that because this guy named Adam22, he interviews a lot of up-and-coming rappers. And like the rappers he interviews are like kind of the Goldilocks zone of Everipedia pages we make. Like the pages we made for people like Lil Pump, Smoke Perp, 6ix9ine. We made them before they were famous. And if you go on their Everipedia pages, they have hundreds of thousands of views.
That's all fantastic. What I'd like to know is there one for a down and failed rapper like myself, the Saran rapper? I wrap it up and keep it fresh.
Yeah. Fresh to death.
Yeah.
You know that I'm the best.
You know that I'm the best. This is fantastic. So I love the ability to do this. So I can manage my own Everipedia world within using my podcast as content, and then also that will link in. So we have Dr. Bob Greenberg's the most recent show, and he's a badass, and he has a lot of content.
Yeah.
And so I can help not only create my own little break it down show universe, but then I could also, in theory, take Dr. Bob's 600 plus courses on music and start to do things on that as well, making a whole nother thing. Is that right?
Yeah. So you're getting closer to an idea that Kedar and Sam have been sort of fumbling around. But it's actually not so much an idea as actually a request.
Okay.
So it's more on the technical side. So we've been approached by several people who have spoken about building bots.
Okay.
And the use of bots for Everipedia, like to, just gather info from different places and things like that. So that's definitely a possibility to do something like that and like just expand like the experience on the blockchain through something like that, where the information that you or yourself, it's essentially like another way of mining, I guess, in some way.
I can't even get into mining right now because I'm trying to marshal this conversation, but this is all so cutting edge, and you guys probably know that you're like way pushing the edge of what's normal. Because most people are like, blockchain, Bitcoin, I don't know what to do. And it's my Texas accent I always do. But it is really confusing.
So the way that it's interesting, yes, because like these networks, they have a particular way of mining. And I guess for Everipedia is going to be way different. Mm-hmm. Same as the transactions are going to be way different too, because it's a decentralized encyclopedia where transactions, and it's on a blockchain, so you'll be able to see the recent activity in real time, and that's going to be pretty much one of the most striking aspects of how the site is going to look like is how you're going to see the flow of knowledge and information taking place. And you'll have, it's just going to have to go on.
And to add on top of that, if you look on our front page right now, like the main thing you see are the edits. And I really view as the edits are the pulse of the site. And I think Sam and Kedar did a really good job of transferring that from the regular site to the blockchain, where the edits are the pulse of the blockchain.
Wow. Okay. I'm trying to understand all of these things because it's such a progressive idea. So I like to say, like, when it comes to this blockchain stuff, I'm always like hands on my knees, like huffing and puffing, like, hold on, wait a second, you're going so fast. So, yes.
In case it hasn't been mentioned yet, or just to remind the listeners, so Sam Kazemian is the president of Everlipedia, and Kedar he's our blockchain developer as well as the designer of the coin as well.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who are, they go back and forth with ideas, but the white paper is essentially finished.
Okay.
Already.
What does that mean? Tell me what that means.
The white paper is basically the roadmap of how the token will work, how it will be built, and it's just a blueprint to the IQ token.
Yeah, it's meant to basically answer any questions that people have on the technical side of the coin itself, as well as how the system or the network of Everipedia works.
Okay, cool. So the white paper's done. Here's the thing I know about white papers, and I'm not even going to say, I'll say no offense. No one gives a fuck about white papers, right? So how you
I would disagree with that.
I don't. I've written a bunch of white papers that no one gives a fuck about. And I've got friends that are like, have you read my paper? No. So that's cool that you've got it, but that ain't good enough. I'm telling you right now, you guys have to create some content based on that to help people understand this, because I've been learning about this stuff and I'm barely hanging on, right? You know?
Yeah, the cool thing about what we're doing is it's not that hard to understand. Right. I think it's something that people are going to really connect with, which is all these other coins are burning electricity to mine.
Okay.
And we're telling people to create knowledge to mine the coin.
Okay.
So what seems like a better
better
way to measure.
Right.
And then think of it as a metaphor. We're basically turning knowledge into value. Knowledge into currency. So I think that's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing. Knowledge into currency. I mean, this is the important thing. And I guess that kind of goes back to a question I had from like 20 minutes ago. One of my struggles in e-walking is I just only have so much bandwidth, right? You know, I got to pay for my truck and everything else. And you guys are saying that there will be some kind of, there's not just value in like my brain is bigger and I've got more content out, but there actually is a financial reward at some point.
Yeah, I feel like technology and the internet has kind of all been leading up to a development like Everipedia.
Right.
I think a good example, like something that's similar to Everipedia that's already in use right now, is Steemit. Okay. And that's kind of like a Reddit on the blockchain, kind of like a Medium post on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. And people write content and they get rewarded for their content. And that is like that. Their market cap is over $1 billion.
Yeah. Okay.
And so if you look at that, the potential for Everipedia is enormous in that respect.
I've started a thing called Crypto Dripper, and I'm kind of learning out loud. So this is one of those moments. One of the things I've realized is that anything that has value, whatever it is going to be attached to some kind of blockchain tangle type situation. Anything, whether it's data, money, memories, whatever it is. And so somehow all this stuff is going to be captured. And I believe we're talking about someone that's going to become the world's first trillionaire, because everything has value. And if you get out in front of that, someone's going to do the Zuckerberg thing or the Bezos thing.
Yeah.
And just because of the size of it, it's going to...
Honestly, I see a world where there's millions of tokens in the future.
Yeah.
And that trillionaire is not that far away, honestly.
Yeah. A trillionaire. You know? And right now, what's Jeff Bezos? I don't even know if he's like a 70 million guy or something like that. Or 70 billion.
I don't think you can even measure in dollars when you get to the point when there's millions of currencies. Like, who knows? Maybe there'll be a stable coin out there. Maybe our whole standards of measuring products to a medium of exchange will be completely different in how we conceptualize it in the future than we do now. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Like, no one knows what's going to happen, but being at Everipedia, I think we all kind of like have a peek into the future, but it's just so hard to predict.
One thing that definitely is different, I mean, so with this era of cryptocurrency and blockchain, there's a lot of things that are happening that it could never happen in Silicon Valley, and one of those things is not only the opportunity to create your own cryptocurrency or currency, but it's also traditions are way different in the market, you know, and it's a feeling where everybody feels like they are involved in the process, like everybody feels included in it. And it's interesting because that's also the philosophy of not only the founders of EOS. That's kind of how they think. You know, they'd want. That's why they have a really long ICO. They have this idea, this philosophy that like everybody can get involved with this and everybody has a part in this. Right. And so crypto, I think that, you know, I was just saying the other day that, you know, we have this thing. We call ourselves millennials, but we are now transitioning into cryptollennials.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I want to echo Angel. Satoshi had to make a lot of money to launch this thing. But what Bitcoin really signals is decentralization, which means a much more egalitarian society and a society that's not going to have the Bezos and the Zucks. Because guess what? I think Zuck is a great guy, and maybe he didn't do this intentionally, but the system is that he's stealing from millions of people who are working for him for free. And that's because he has no way to track what they're adding, the value they're adding, and compensate them. So there's going to be a decentralized Facebook where the CEO is not going to have $100 billion. Maybe he's going to have like $1 billion. But then the other 99 are going to get shared with everyone who's actually creating the value.
Yeah, to add on to Mahbub, what he's saying is there's going to be finally a symbiotic relationship between the users and the platform. And that's what tokenization is going to bring to the world.
One of the geniuses behind this whole thing is Vitalik, and he's the creator of Ethereum. And I believe he's like only 20 years old or something.
23.
So he's 23.
Jesus.
So it's interesting because it's not like everybody is rounding behind this. It's not like they're tagging along behind this guy.
Right.
I think what's going on is actually really something interesting. I think the people are listening. Like they're listening not only to the Ethereum product, you know, and how they've done the whole protocol of the ERC20, which has allowed so many people to get involved, right, in not only contributing to their technology, but also to their own ideas as well. And so there is that. There's like an interesting like passage where crypto is going in that sense, you know, and Vitalik has a lot of ideas too in terms of like how other countries and how like other places can have opportunities as well in terms of currencies, and it's kind of radical in a way, but yeah, as Dave was saying, there's a symbiotic relationship in how people are thinking about it, and like. Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to try to explain this, and I'm positive I haven't got it all figured out. But one of the things, like you were talking about, Mahbub, like with the value that you bring to Facebook, you know, creates opportunity for them to generate revenue. But it doesn't necessarily do anything for you, the person does it. Like in the podcast world, one of the questions I answer a lot is like, well, how do I generate revenue? You know, and how do I get more listeners on iTunes? First off, fuck iTunes. They're a shitty business partner. They won't give you data. They won't tell you what the magic sauce is to get featured. I'm positive if someone has enough cheese, they can walk in and say, you're going to feature my thing. And so you're competing against a machine that's just a shitty business partner. You would never pick them. I'm not mad at iTunes. I'm just saying that if you're going to build a company, why would you pick iTunes as a partner? Why would you build your customer base in their store? Because what they want to do is they want to sell music and movies, and they want to sell these things. It sounds like what you guys are saying is that's going to be reduced, and the Apples of the world are going to get pancaked out of this a little bit more than certainly what they are now.
There's a possibility that every Silicon Valley business is going to get replaced by the decentralized version. And these decentralized businesses are going to be sharing a lot more of their value with their users.
I think an interesting development today, Kodak announced that they're having an ICO, a 130-year-old company that seems so outdated for so long, all of a sudden just jumps to the forefront of everyone's conversation just by like a 3-letter acronym.
Give us like a 30-second primer on what an ICO is, because a lot of people don't know.
An initial coin offering is a way for companies to raise money for their product through tokenization. And that token can either be a security or a utility. There's a lot of debate of like what makes a utility token or what makes a security token. But what's cool about ICOs, it completely sidesteps the traditional venture funding route that has been like the mainstay in startups and fundraising for so long. And it's completely changing the game and replacing that. And it's really cool to see it happening in front of our eyes.
One of the things that we're going to see, and this is just Pete predicting, and I'm terrible at that, but one of the things that we're going to see is I guess what you would call peer-to-peer financing, where you're like, I'm going to buy a house, and maybe I have a value on the blockchain where Pete is a 7 out of 10, and people are like, yeah, I got $8 for that, $10, $100, $1 million, whatever it's going to be. And so instead of me going to pick a finance company to get a loan, I'm going to be able to go to the world and they'll all say yes. And then, like David could say, you know what, I'm good here. I'm going to sell that value to somebody else. And so instead of one entity or even 1,000 entities, it'll be a churn of entities that will hold the loan, which is going to, again, change things dramatically for how people
I'll make
do
it
things.
even simpler for you. I see a future where you go to a supermarket and you go use the supermarket's token. And let's say you want to go to a concert, like a Live Nation concert. You use their token, and I'm sure that these tokens are eventually going to like partner up with each other. That you get like certain deals with like certain conglomerates. Yeah. So the possibilities are endless with this kind of stuff.
There's a lot of disintermediation So I've been thinking about the path of a dollar, right? And I want to get you. I'm absolutely trying to figure this out. So don't take this like I'm have all the knowledge. I'm asking as much as I'm talking here. If you take the path of a dollar, right? I'm going to go buy a loaf of bread at Ralph's. Ralph's is a grocery store chain here in LA. If I take that dollar and I hand it to somebody, that dollar does something from that one transaction before it stops. And there's, let's say, 150 people that are taking a little tiny bit out of that dollar, right? There's an accountant, there's a clerk, there's a bagger, there's a banker. Like with the smart contract on my tokenized, at my Ralph's token, it will say, here's this dollar. It already automatically populates a database that says that dollar went here, but there's not a person with there's literally a person with a bag every night that takes the money from Ralph's to the Chase Bank, and then it gets processed there, and then it gets processed at the next stop until that dollar stops and gets circulated out. That's all changed in the crypto world.
Yeah, I mean, the crypto world is basically going to eliminate any, like you will never have to deal with cashiers anymore.
Right. And that sounds terrifying to cashiers, but understand that cashiers will be able to do things like e-walk a whole lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
And create value with their education.
We're going to a world where things are going to change pretty drastically, even without blockchain, because self-driving cars and automation are going to put armies of people out of work.
Yeah.
So I think that upcoming social structure is going to be a lot of people who get a combination of universal basic income every month and then are earning on the internet. They're using the internet to make money, getting tokens for doing different kind of tasks on the internet.
I see a lot of opportunities too to help people in this regard way better than how it was in the past. Like now it's going to make it harder for NGOs to be corrupt in many ways, as well as like political institutions to, in many ways, like fuck with people like that are poor.
Yeah.
So that's like,
there are more NGOs in Haiti than any other country in the world, and Haiti is one of the most fucked up places in the world. There's so much struggle to get that right. So I love hearing that.
In 2017, I think it was like maybe around whenever the storm happened in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And then I think it also happened a little bit in Mexico, or something happened there. When those two environmental events went down, disasters, there was a lot of people like trying to raise funds through cryptocurrency.
Right.
So like the wallets were being posted everywhere for Bitcoin.
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business, or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at P. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
And so now what's actually going on is a lot of the cryptocurrency community from different places are going right now. There's some initiative that's taking place in Puerto Rico where they're trying to help rebuild it now.
Right. Yeah. Boy, you're right. There's so many hands and I was going to use a sexual reference, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
there's so many hands in the pot as the money leaves from the I want to donate to Boston Strong, right, and help those folks recover from a bombing. And, because you got to pay someone to manage things, but a lot of these things will be gone. You won't have to literally pay a person to walk, maybe get shot at work with a bag full of money,
Yeah.
Those things will be completely changed. And like Mabu said, like the drivers, there's not going to be drivers.
Yeah.
Lawyers. There's already robot lawyers winning divorce cases and parking tickets. Because a lot of this stuff, it's all been written.
Well, to add on the point of cutting out middlemen,
yes.
I think cryptocurrency cuts out the biggest middleman of all, which is the central banks.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, it's
a whole bunch of nodding.
We've been living in a world for, I don't know, like 500, 600 years, where the central banks were the ones that basically printed the value. They printed the medium of exchange. We are now moving to a world where that's being taken away from the central banks and actually being given to people that are actually creating the value, that are creating these, or companies that are like having these ICOs and stuff like us. Everripedia is a great example.
Yeah.
Ethereum's a great example. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Creating value and knowledge.
Yeah. Do you want to live in a world where like these bankers in these offices with numbers and are like making these decisions about medium of exchange and like the interest rates and stuff, or do you want the people actually creating the product to be creating the value and creating the medium of exchange? You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. I'm not so mad at bankers. I like everybody, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. Like the person, they've had their turn. Now it's going to be decentralized, and a lot of these roles are going to be changed. So we do have to. Here's the thing: you don't have to necessarily want to invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum or fill in the blank. You can not worry about that now. But what we cannot change is this has happened. That bomb already went off. So
it's already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening.
Transition's here.
I mean, you guys are transitioning. I would love to figure out how to, use crypto with podcasting and get out in front of that, because there's absolutely a way to do this.
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like I kind of speak for everyone here. I feel like we're all in the future right now. We see where the world's going to. And I think we all have a responsibility to inform people and help people to get there.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing with your podcast. That's what we're doing with Everripedia. That's what we're doing when we share stuff on Facebook about cryptocurrency and Everripedia. We're trying to inform people and let them know this is here, it's at the doorstep.
And it's really tough for people to understand about crypto. And there's a lot of not misunderstanding. There's just such a big world. I mean, we're taking a linear world and we're making it spherical, but it's expanding. The sphere it's like the universe. It's really getting bigger and bigger.
It's getting faster.
Right. So you're it's expanding faster and faster. So you're trying to figure out, I wrote a little thing the other day on Medium, and I said, just don't even get into Tangle yet, because that's the edge. That's the event horizon. Once you go that way,
there's too much uncertainty there.
Right, we're just not going to see you anymore. You're gone. But the thing is, the Tangle exists, and it's going to be something. It's not going to unexist.
I think you can make it simpler than that. I think the other day I read Nick Szabo's paper called "The Origins of Money," and I didn't realize how slow money used to be. Money used to be carried on a more of a generation basis, when people would wear these seashells and necklaces, and that was the medium of exchange of a value of a certain family, because the world was so much slower. We can't imagine it, because we live in a world with the internet. We live in a world even with electricity. We take that for granted.
Yeah.
And as innovations like technology came along, the Bronze Age, the Age of Steel, the Industrial Revolution, all that. The world has gone faster and faster, and you see all these different financial mechanisms and institutions pop up.
Yeah, I've always said Adam Smith, Ricardo, and Marx, John Stuart Mill, and whoever you want to name, they never knew Bitcoin.
But I bet Adam Smith would get it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Adam Smith warned everybody about the C word,
the invisible hand, and all that stuff. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to challenge. It's already doing that,
right?
You know? I think it's interesting because it's like one of those things that maybe in like human culture has been in the works. Who knows?
Yeah, I really view Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as gravity. Depending on who you ask, like it's either Bitcoin or it could be Ethereum or another coin. Mm-hmm. It's just pulling all this energy towards it, whether it's money, whether it's attention, whether it's media. It's literally just sucking everything into its orbit, and it's just getting exponential. Yeah. Look how Bitcoin was created like 2009, and look how fast it's grown in less than 10 years. It's incredible.
Right.
It's worth $14,000-$15,000 today.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's moving so fast, and that's just Bitcoin. In a world that can be, a million currencies. I could have a Pete currency if I decide to learn how to write the code, and maybe it would be worthless, but it could exist. So that's exciting.
Well, what we're most interested in are the smart contract platforms.
Okay.
So Ethereum was the first one, and then EOS is what we're launching on, and it's going to be the competitor to Ethereum.
Yeah, we're really excited about EOS.
So if you want to build your Pete coin, build it on EOS.
All right. Okay. You got, or maybe a break it down show coin. What can someone buy EOS?
Buy
now?
EOS.
Yeah. So do you go to Coin Vault, Coin Locker, Coin whatever? What do you
need to get a Trezor, and then you can buy it on some exchanges like Binance.
Kraken.
But we are building on EOS, and then look at what's been built out there. This is a great technology, but it hasn't been really used that much yet. Like there's earn.com, which gives you Bitcoin, but that seems like it's pretty limited in scope. The big hit on Ethereum was CryptoKitties. So like your crypto pets, but they actually froze. They fucked up the whole Ethereum system. It was kind of a disaster.
I've got a level 2 Mancoon that I'm working on. Getting up.
Adding on to it,
and you got Steam It, which is actually the coolest thing out there. And then Everipedia is Steam It on crack because they are crypto Reddit and we're crypto wiki.
Right.
So we think we are going to be the biggest DApp, and we are going to really show what the potential is. Like everyone right now is building the tools, but no one's using the tools to actually build the cathedral. So we're going to be the first cathedral, and we're going to be on EOS. So that's some food for thought.
So you guys are let's just back up a little bit. You've been on Popping the Bubble, my technology show that I do with Sandra Ponce de Leon. You've been on the Break It Down show, and in that time, you guys went from being an exciting, well-led startup, and I guess technically you guys are still a startup. You could be a startup for 20 years anymore, but you guys you're now well-funded. And we don't got to go into how much and all that kind of stuff. I know that stuff's sort of proprietary, so I'm not even going to ask. But I know you guys are doing all right. You're not bazillionaires, but you have passed certain gates where you exist, and you now have more English pages than Wikipedia. At some point, that's going to be exponential.
Yeah, and also the worldwide coverage we've gotten is pretty amazing. We had a pretty big press blitz in December, and we were in Wired magazine, we were in Yahoo Finance, we were in Quartz, and it blew up. Yeah, obviously blew up in the United States and in the English world, but we were just in Japan, Wired, last week, and like that is still, the waves of that is still echoing across. Like we get emails all the time from people from all over the world, like somebody like, "Hey, I'm from Turkey. Wikipedia is censored here. Like I'm really excited for your site, like because it can't be censored when it's on the blockchain." So we're gonna have. I think what's special about Everipedia is the huge international presence.
Think about that. A place like North Korea or whatever that has such a closed society, you guys are past that. Alrighty. And maybe it's not in North Korea right now, but that's probably the most restricted nation on the planet.
You know that North Korea mines Bitcoin?
Of course.
Yeah.
They have to, because again, that bomb already went off.
Yeah.
You can't make that unblow up, right? Yeah, exactly.
One thing we haven't said this yet. So the co-founder of Wikipedia, Larry Sanger, joined Everripedia.
Say what? Wait, hang on. Say that again. So the co-founder of Wikipedia, who won't give you a page, that guy's here now?
Yeah, he's part of Everripedia now.
Well, that's a vote of confidence.
Yeah. So this has helped us have this is helping us create a really good foundation of like an international community.
This is enormous. So give me some ideas on what made him say this is what's next, because he's already built this machine once, right? I mean, it's real easy to say, oh, that's already been done, but he's here and he's excited, I'm assuming. So tell us about that.
I think when Larry Sanger helped create Wikipedia in the early 2000s, he was envisioning something like the blockchain, but it just didn't exist yet. He couldn't do it yet. But once the technology came and Everipedia came at the same time, it kind of just created the perfect storm for him to jump on and seize the opportunity to create the encyclopedia that he always wanted.
It reminds me of when Mark Andreessen invested in Rap Genius. Mm-hmm. He wanted part of his vision was to have the universal web annotator. Mm-hmm. And he was saying that when he invented the web browser, Mosaic, he actually wanted to have annotation on there, but they didn't have space to store the annotations back then. Whereas we're using Heroku and this modern stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's similar an analogy with what's going on with Everripedia, where now we're working with the co-founder of Wikipedia, and he's saying we wanted a way to give people rewards when we built Wikipedia. But back then there was no blockchain. Yeah,
instead they're asking
for $3.
So
technology, after 16 years, finally caught up with his vision.
Right. Yeah, there's another thing too, where just building Wikipedia was incredible. Just doing that, and it's I can take on this pile of work, or I can invent this whole. I'm thinking about Spire. They throw up microsatellites into space, and I think they said once a week they get an email with the combination of words that have never been written in the history of mankind, and some new business process has to be invented. There's actually a broker for space, and there's a space lawyer. These things didn't exist 20 years ago at all. And this is just the beginning. I mean, we're going to be doing business in a whole different way. That disintermediation where, sorry, accountant, you're not going to, as much as it seems impossible, accountants are going to, at best, be completely redefined.
Yeah, what but with all the jobs that become obsolete, there'll be new ones, and new opportunities that pop up. So, yeah, change is scary. It could be kind of uncertain, but it's uninventable, and I think we should just all accept it and embrace it.
Yeah, one of the things we had on the CEO from Bright Idea, and he said they're an innovation company, and he said as long as the pace of innovation exceeds the pace of automation, which it always has throughout all of mankind, we're fine. Because there will be new jobs. You'll be a brand ambassador, or you'll Ewok for a living. And you don't have to go work in an office with a key card. Going all the way back to the beginning, you can literally sit on the beach with your laptop and Ewok or whatever it's going to be. You can find your space to get compensated. I'm pointing at people that you got they can see that. You can get paid to transfer your knowledge. The ability to put a crowd together, even if it's 10 people that love what you do, you can't get compensated for that on Facebook. But the fact that those people come and then they join into other parts of the commerce thing, that's what we're talking about. So that's where some of these jobs are going to come from.
So the way that we've been covering a lot of news and viral news and memes and stuff like that is also going to be a really exciting part of what we're doing as well, because this will hopefully allow people to open their eyes and click and be wow, okay, yeah, I see this. Mm-hmm. I can definitely do that. I can help them discover the next meme, that no one even knows yet, but it's going to be a viral hit. Yeah. So essentially, one of the visions that we've always had is that Everipedia can be the hub for for the knowing what's going viral on the internet. So
one of the things that you guys do that I love is you call people out that do despicable things. All the time on Facebook, I see it. And it's interesting because now that, look, with all of this sexual predator stuff that's been going on in the late 2017, still kind of going on now, the identification of these things, it's not so monolithic, these structures. Is anybody surprised there's a casting couch for real that we found out about it? You're like, no one's surprised by that. What we can do is we can start to finance movies through a more peer-to-peer blockchain approach, and we don't have to go through someone who's going to go out and rape women and do a quid pro quo sexual exchange thing. Like, okay, we don't have to do that anymore. We can actually go to blockchain to get this movie made or whatever it's going to be. And if you do predator shit, you can get called out on Everripedia, and that also is going to hopefully make people who do those kind of things find the help they need to maybe do less despicable shit. That would be nice.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to go either way. And this should hopefully also challenge everyone. Yeah. Because even the perpetrator can have a chance to earn tokens. So, sure. Because he can go in there and be like, okay, like it all matters if the master editor accepts the editor.
We've not disrupted, nefarious activity. That's tough to disrupt.
Yeah, but so what we hope is that at the same wavelength, there'll be some moral support as well in the site, because that is also going to drive incentive to ensure that our token, the IQ, stays balanced within the market, hopefully.
Sure. Let me jump in here while you're talking and just say this. I dig what we're doing. You guys are the folks from Everipiedia. In the show notes, I'll put links there. By the way, every time I write something, if it's an appropriate link to do, I always link it to you guys. Obviously, I use
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, I'm all about what you guys do. I mean, obviously, I put links into LinkedIn and other, articles that are written, but when given the opportunity, I definitely link to your guys' stuff. I've got a wiki, so you're already made friends with me. And I keep telling my friends, I'm like, do you have an Everripedia? Do you have a wiki on there? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm constantly championing for you guys.
My cat from college has a wiki.
Yeah, see?
One of the first wikis I made was for Bojangles.
I'm hoping that once my Mancoon, my CryptoKitty Mancoon up to 3, I'm gonna like, hey, can you guys make a wiki for my CryptoKitty?
I got you.
You were saying that you linked to Everripedia. Imagine if everything on the internet, every proper noun linked to Everripedia. Like anything you're reading, news, whatever. You see a proper noun, you want to know more information about it, you click it, and there's an encyclopedia article about it.
Right. That's accessible from a bunch of different portals too.
Yeah, and what's really funny is that on the wiki for the noun, people can go in there and constantly add a sentence that goes along with the noun, and all that playful stuff can go down for sure.
When my daughter Brenna graduated from high school, I hijacked the Wikipedia page for her high school for a couple hours and took a picture of it real quick, and then they sent me an email and said, "What's that?"
A lot of people do that actually.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was fun. It's like, who owns Greenbrier High School? Brenna. That's who owns that shit. Because she's graduating today. Why not? And you know what? I would have paid a couple of bucks if they would have let me do that. Just, for, you can, it's graduation day, raise some money.
Okay, so I'm trying to think what would have happened with our token. I think for the high school, you could have probably lost your token. But then if you would have made a wiki for your daughter, you definitely get some tokens for that.
Yeah. So I couldn't hijack it. You're helping educate people about crypto also on the side. So tell us a little bit about it Crypto for Plebs? Is that right?
It's called Bitcoin for Plebs.
Bitcoin for Plebs.
Yeah, so I got motivated to start Bitcoin for Plebs, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, as a way to educate people. I've been running blogs for almost 10 years now, different websites, and through that and through my experience at Everripedia, I just combined all my knowledge and applied it to crypto. Okay. And so I have original content, but I also see myself as an aggregator of content in the crypto space.
Nice.
So whenever I see an interesting article, like I said earlier, the Nick Szabo Origins of Money article, I'll share that. if I see like a development in crypto, like I'll make a meme for it. For example, we were talking about venture capital and ICOs earlier. I'm not sure if you saw the meme of like the guy looking away while he's holding the girl's hand. I actually had a meme where it had like ICOs as a girl walking by, and the guy is startups, and the girl who's like giving him a look is venture capital.
Nice.
So I'll make content like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just those like little things like that to get people aware that like this stuff is happening and this stuff is here.
In the crypto world, they're called memes.
Memes, yeah.
It's much more fancy and egalitarian. No, I love it.
Yeah, and recently I started live streaming. And so what I would do, I only did 2 episodes so far. What I would do is like, I'll like have my window display that, like showing my computer screen, and I'll go and research ICOs and different coins. For example, today, a few days ago, I got a tattoo, and my tattoo artist was telling me about an ICO that his friend was telling him about, called like Dealbox or something.
Right.
And he asked me to look into it. And I'm just like, I'll just do a live stream about it.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
So I did a live stream of myself reading the white paper, and from that I basically concluded that it wasn't worth it.
See, you're taking a white paper and making more content off it. That's how you use white papers.
I find live streaming to be like best way to engage with people right now, because it's like happening in the moment. You can interact with people in real time. You can reach people in real time.
We're doing a thing with the Crypto Dripper thing that I'm starting, and we're going to do a similar thing. Try to find a question, try to answer it, and then each week invest just $20. My partner's doing 50 because that's the break point for like a percentage off from when you invest. But who cares? $20 a week. In a year, I've got $1,000 ish invested, and in 10 years, it's $10,000 just in cash.
Yeah,
and who cares about that's coffee
exactly
each week. So
and another thing I do, which is kind of the foundation of Bitcoin for Plebs, is interviews. Like I did that for my previous blog, Frequency of the Unknown. That's actually how I got started working at Everipiedia, was because I interviewed Mahmoud in May of 2016.
Nice.
And so I've had I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to interview like Kadar, our world-class blockchain developer, Sam, who has like a wealth of crypto knowledge. Like honestly, like when it comes to people that are experts, he's like the top of the top.
Yeah.
And I interviewed Mahmoud, obviously, who's been in the game since 2014. And my most recent interview was with Jeremy Gardner. And he's the co-founder of Arger. He runs like a few crypto hedge funds, and he did a really good job in articulating like the crypto world we're in right now. Like my favorite quote from the interview is that we're in a stage right now where crypto assets are both in a bubble and undervalued at the same time.
Right.
And it's kind of up to us to like recognize and like kind of figure out which is what and what is which.
Which is what and what is which. Yeah, so that's cool. So it's called Bitcoin for Plebs. It's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook, Bitcoin for Plebs, bitcoinforplebs.com. I just started an Instagram.
Nice.
I also have my Twitter, which is just @DaveSaidThat. I have a lot of stuff in store in the future for Bitcoin for Plebs.
Great. And if you want, we can cross-pollinate with the stuff
Absolutely.
too. Absolutely. We're trying to make it, I'm trying to represent an older generation. There's baby boomers that either are like a burner through their money, like, I actually am going to live 20 years longer than I thought, know? And then there's all us Gen Xers that like, we came up and, racism was still open, like with the way we talked about people from other, like all that was way worse when we were coming up. You could retire and get a gold watch and go, but all that went gone. So none of us have any retirement. It's like, oh crap, we don't know what to do now. So I'm trying to hit that segment and just say, look, this is easy. You don't have to know everything about this to invest.
Yeah. Sometimes the less you know, the better.
Sometimes. And I'm not saying invest stupidly. I'm saying be diverse, invest what you can afford to lose, which is always a good rule, and just, go slow over time and then build up some steam.
And if there is something that you don't know, just, find the wiki.
Right, ask it. And then between Bitcoin for Plebs or Crypto Dripper, we're gonna help you out. And the bar doesn't have to be so damn high. Yes, we went fast. We talked about spherical explosion and all the other things. Don't worry so much about that. Like let's just slow down and say, wait, I can Ewok and create power, create revenue and value. How many people love a topic and would just love to sit around and add to the knowledge base for that topic?
Exactly. They can be involved in the process, involved in the network. And what is a network really? It's just a connection of different nodes they kind of bounce back off each other.
I like to go to museums and do shows there. Every single one of those places has way more stuff not on display than on display.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about you can't drive, no one's going to be driving anymore. No one's going to be accounting anymore. Lawyers are going to be changed for what they can do. You can literally go to the National World War I Museum and just read every piece of correspondence, love letters across different nations, and just create knowledge off of that. That can't be, there's just not enough people to do it,
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things that can happen.
Yeah, what I like to do is I like to just watch interviews with people on YouTube and just extract the content from video form and then cross-pollinate it onto Everripedia and obviously cite it because that's
you
what
should
we're
be
all
checking
about.
out the Break It Down show.
I do, and of course I cite that.
In terms of something related to retirement,
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if there's a token for that right now.
yeah, you're probably right. That's a question. That's a question for
I
both
feel
of
like
us.
the retirement token right now is just Bitcoin, just holding Bitcoin.
Buy and hold.
Buy and
Yeah.
hodl. HODL.
Yeah. One of the problems is there's a bit of a gold. It's part of that bubble and undervaluing thing. There is a gold rush. There's a gold fever. It's a crypto fever.
It's a mania.
For sure. But the thing is that in 10 years from now, the 18,000 or whatever it's going to be out on a day-to-day basis, that's nothing.
Yeah.
It's going to be way higher than that because, again, as a business owner, if I have the ability to use a crypto-based transfer of money, just the money part, not any other things, and I don't have to have an accountant, I don't have to have pay for an armed car service, why would I do that? Why would I pay for those things? And then I also don't have to pay Chase to take my money, put it into overnight float and make money off my, all that's gone. Yeah. I wouldn't pay for it. So that's one thing. It's it doesn't matter. Like no one's going to pay the premium to run their business that way because if they do, they're out of business.
You're just going to make more direct connections to what matters and what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done this for about an hour, actually more than an hour, but it's been fascinating. And I want to come see you guys more often because it's great to sit in the cockpit of the spaceship that's going super fast in a direction no one's ever seen before.
I like to call it a monastery because we're all just making scholarly wikis all day.
Yeah.
I just want to mention that the architect of EOS is Darren Lammer. I don't think we mentioned that in the past. And Darren Lammer has made successful blockchain projects such as Steemit, such as BitShares, and his specialty is scaling. And that's the big debate right now with all these smart contracts coming up, who's going to scale first. You have Ethereum, they're coming out with Plasma in 2018. You have EOS coming out in June 2018. And it's really going to be a race of who can scale efficiently and in a timely manner.
And really, you can bet on both ponies.
Yeah, exactly. I could see a future where Ethereum could cover the financial sector of the token world, and EOS covers the consumer dApp sector of the token world.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Who are you?
I'm Kedar. I'm one of the lead blockchain developers.
Nice. Tell us one thing that excites you about blockchain, where it's going.
I think we've seen currencies so far.
Okay.
And I think what's going to be exciting over 2018 is seeing non-currency applications come on. So something like Everipiedia, where it's a content site coming onto the blockchain. So it's going to be a lot of non-currency applications.
You guys have to help me get smart on how to do this with that podcast and what that means. Because I can't think of it yet, but I know it's out there. I know there's a way to get in front of the market on it. So I'm definitely interested to learn.
Oh, it totally makes sense for there to be a podcast platform where you can get tokens if people like your podcast.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
Actually, shilling, that's the term for that people in the cryptocurrency world use to either promote a coin or to have a Patreon in the cryptocurrency space. It kind of works along the same lines. If you have a podcast on iTunes, if you're on YouTube or Facebook or something, there's a Patreon account where someone could literally donate a certain amount of money every month. The easiest short-term solution for me, in my opinion, is to, just create a Patreon on the blockchain until, these huge networks that kind of take over the Facebooks of the world and the Amazons, take place.
Let me ask you this, because I'm a little hard on Patreon. So tell me how this works in the blockchain world, from your opinion, right now, from without knowing, right? But here's my thing with Patreon. It's kind of like my thing with iTunes. Patreon And look, I want to get artists paid, and I appreciate Jack for doing this. But one, I'll say this right now, when I offered to give them the microphone, they said no thanks. So that already tells me, like, whoa, hold on. What? I've had your wife on my show. Cool. Maybe I got blown off just because that happens. But that does tell me one thing about, their connection to artists. Two, you're taking money out of, away from me. What value are you creating? If I can create an audience on my own site, why do I need Patreon, right? So they can't necessarily help us bridge the gap between no audience. They can feature you, but who are they going to feature? They're going to feature people that bring people into their storefront and then say, also look at this, and this. Also on Patreon, on your bio, unless you're really diligent about your bio, it promotes Patreon. Right? Yeah. So, and these are just facts about Patreon, right? What do we do different in the blockchain world? How does someone, like, they build a Patreon, aren't they going to want to build it so that it benefits them less than the artist? When Patreon goes out to get a round of funding, what do they talk about? Subscribers. That's their, quote unquote, that's their audience. That's what they're selling. How would it be different on the blockchain?
Patreon is a perfect example of a company that can be completely replaced with tokenization. Patreon, if you look at it, it's just a platform. It's a platform for artists to get paid, for people to support their artists. That can easily be replaced if somebody writes up a smart contract and creates a crypto that does just that, and there's less middlemen. Like, Patreon won't take a company. Everything will just be much more direct. So it's like we were talking about before, we're cutting out the middlemen. We're cutting out the Patreon middlemen in this respect, and we're creating, whoever creates this Patreon token, we're making it a much more direct, closer relationship between the listeners or viewers or the subscribers and the content creator. And that's what I think tokenization and cryptocurrency, it's just bringing people closer together. It's really in ways that we don't expect. Like, we live in a digital world, but through these connections with the internet and with tokens, we're really getting closer.
I'm thinking about all the costs associated with running a podcast, right? And our podcast is successful, it's good, but you have to pay for, and these are things that are very common. Hootsuite or Buffer, you got to pay for that. That's, let's say, $20 a month. Little, but you got to pay. In our case, Weebly. It's one of the other websites. There's $20. I've got to pay Libsyn for the syndication thing. For us, that's, like $40, $50, $100, a month. And these are very, like we aren't a giant show, but I've already almost spent $100. I've got some social media stuff covered. I've got some syndication covered, but there's a lot of other costs like that. And from what it sounds like, we'll be able to avoid a lot of these things.
Yeah. Just cut off all those costs, cut off all those worries you have as blockchain gets more mature and the technology and the scaling gets more evolved. You're going to just cut all that out. I think we're in a phase right now where, like, it's the internet in, like, the mid-90s. Like, the ideas and, like, are there, and, like, the technology's in, like, the development stage, but it isn't completely mature yet. And that's where we really are in blockchain right now. We're in, like, 1995,
It's
96.
a great example. When I look at the opportunities in my life, like, so when I joined the Army, I got a bonus, and I said, I'm just going to buy $2,000 worth of Microsoft stock. And it was an awesome decision because it was the late, early 90s part. It was, like, 94.
Yeah.
All right. So it was a good time to buy, and it went great. But then life stepped in and said, hey, you need a bunch of money. And so that became my pile of money. A couple of years later, I was like, this Amazon thing, I could see how it was going to change. I didn't know that, like, it was, it was just books at the time. And then they started buying, like, a pet pharmaceutical company. We're like, we're just going to sell pet drugs. And I'm like, they wouldn't do that because they're dumb. And then I heard the key thing. Somebody's like, that stock's overvalued. They're not worth any money. That's a bad investment. And I'm like, oh, an established dude saying something's a bad investment because he doesn't get it because it's a new way. So that triggered me to buy some Amazon stock, which I still hold. It's not, I can only afford so much, but that little tiny investment, maybe like $300, is way bigger now,
Yeah.
So this reminds me of that, where when I heard the guy, the retired exec from GM, maybe 3 weeks ago, go, there's no special sauce in Tesla. Like, whoa, wow. The GM guy just said Tesla's not special. Okay, you know where I'm going to put my money?
Tesla.
I already bought Tesla stock a long time ago. and for a poor guy, there's a pretty good portfolio out there. But this is what I agree with you. Like, this is it. This is the forefront. And even if it's wrong, so what? Like, first off, that bomb already went off, so it's going to work. And if I pick the wrong horses, there's still a race happening, no matter what.
Yeah, some people are already choosing the wrong horse.
Right.
It's not like there aren't other people trying to do what we're doing.
Right.
We do have a competitor, which I am not going to name who they are, but their token seems to be doing really well. Mm-hmm. But that's the funny thing about cryptocurrency is that people like to fuck around with it too. So they'll go back and forth between our competitor and ours just because, why
you can.
not? Yes, because you can.
Yeah, and you need to.
I also want to mention too that simultaneously, there's a really unique idea for people's interests, So our competitor, there's no way that anybody could they don't have a product. So how could people be interested in, we're going to be able to capture the people that invested in them and their ICO easily because those people were looking for what we've done. And what we're going to do.
Yeah. And I think people are hungry to contribute. Like I was saying before, we get emails all the time from people all over the world.
Right.
Like asking like, oh, I want an account. Like, I'm so inspired. I am a college student in England, or like I'm an engineer in South Africa. And they all want to add their knowledge, the little bit that they know, to the global knowledge platform that is Everipedia.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are ready for this. And I can tell you why right now. I believe earlier this week, Edward Snowden interviewed Jimmy Wales, who's the co-founder of Wikipedia. Our co-founder is Larry Sanger. He's the other one. Or I'm sorry, the co-founder of Wikipedia, the other guy, Larry Sanger, is on our team. So come on, man. Like, Snowden knows this shit really well. He knows that if he saw what we're doing, which I hope that he does, he could see that like we're kind of like a Skynet kind of thing. But for crypto, not where there's a huge it's a knowledge network. Okay. So I mean, he's someone that understands how knowledge is being delivered.
But how does that
digitally
housewife in Kansas? How do they get it? I get Edward Snowden gets it. He's super smart and he's been doing things like this for a long time. But what about someone who just look when you do a Google search, and I normally do Bing because I hold Microsoft stuff, but you do Google search and type in Edward Snowden, a Wikipedia article comes up as the first thing, right? How do you get over that hump with that lady from Kansas that's just going to click that button right there? What happens? What changes? How does she get it?
Soon enough, even when she searches Edward Snowden, I mean, soon enough, the Wikipedia search is going to be first, but so will the Everipedia one too. Yeah. Maybe below it.
Definitely being equal to it in the future. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
Well, also, one way to think of it is we're the expansion pack to Wikipedia. So nice. Wikipedia's got their 5 million articles. They're holding it down.
Yeah.
But what if someone wants to see Edward Snowden's daughter?
Yeah.
Or I guess he doesn't have kids.
Or his crypto kitties.
Yeah. Or like... Or what if someone wants to see me?
Yeah.
That's what the real reason we made this site is because just I wanted a Wikipedia and they wouldn't let me have one. So now I've got one. So everyone go read it.
Yeah. Or not even just people, but certain subjects that Wikipedia doesn't cover or don't cover.
Well, again, this goes back to that World War I museum thing where there's a million pieces of information that can't be processed yet.
I think one of the coolest pages we have on the site is something I started and the guys contributed to. It's SoundCloud Rap. And it goes through the history of this like emerging new music genre that has appeared in the mid 2010s and like the influences, the history.
Wow.
And it goes into extreme detail. And I had that up for like 2-3 months before Wikipedia just straight up like copied it.
Do you guys know the Dissect podcast?
I'm not familiar with
Dissect? Oh, you guys need to get in on that. It's this guy, well, his name's Cole, but it doesn't matter. He took To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick Lamar's album, and he breaks it down all the way down to like the tonic key that it's in, why it's there, why this sample is brought in, what key that is, and then how he creates a story. And then he did it with Kanye's, I think, most recent album. So it's fantastic. It's called, and I'm not getting paid to say this. I legitimately love what this guy does. But it sounds like the same kind of thing where you're really getting into something at the granular level. And it's incredible to be able to get compensated for putting your passion into something like that other people are going to want to hear. You know, it's one thing to enjoy the music. It's another thing to really break down the I mean, you can go to USC right now and go get a poetry degree, an MFA in poetry, and it's going to cost you $150,000. Or you can make $150,000 just breaking down the poetry.
People are truly going to earn their contributions with Everipiedia.
Yeah.
When it's on the blockchain. And that's really cool.
How soon till this stuff happens? Can you say? How about this? By the year 2020, will it be possible?
Yeah.
How about the year 2019?
It'll be sooner than that.
It'll be sooner than that. So we're talking something that's imminent. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the near future.
In the near future.
In the near future. And we're doing this right now in January 2018. So
before you know it.
Before you know it. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me wrap this thing up. Thank you so much for all your guys' knowledge. I want to come back and every time you guys have news, let's just do one of these things and get caught up and learn about it, because the one thing that we can always do is create not just more. You guys have a lot of content, but different avenues of content. Podcasts for sure help with that. I want to support you guys any way I can. So anything else in closing at all?
No, thank you.